Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. So today we're going to step away from the lore a little bit and we're going to talk about episode 8 and a prediction I have that I think is very accurate. So here we go. In the end of episode 7, we find Rey finding Luke, who in turn is trying to find himself. I mean, that's what The Force Awakens was about, right? It's about finding a return to their roots. J.J. Abrams wanted to find a safe way to reintroduce the Star Wars brand to a new generation. Rey wanted to find her family. Leia wanted to find her brother. Kylo wanted to find a way to become more like Grandfather Skywalker. And Harrison Ford, well, he wanted to find a way out of Star Wars.
I argued for 30 years for this to happen.
Right.
But the biggest what if in episode 8, in my opinion, is what did Luke find on Ahch-To in the First Temple of the Jedi Order? We know that Luke was driven into exile after he lost an entire crop of Jedi apprentices to the dark side. We also know that his confidence in his ability to train apprentices is probably shattered. And that is reinforced by the fact that he himself was only half trained. Both of his masters died prematurely, and technically by old Jedi Order standards, he was never even knighted. So what Luke finds in the First Jedi Temple will essentially become his third master, and that will greatly influence how he teaches Rey or any other future students he comes across. So what is inside the First Temple? In order to find that out, we must discover the origins of the Jedi. Now, a lot is known about the origins of the Jedi in Legends. We cover it extensively in one of our videos. We'll put the link below to that video if you're not familiar with that story. But the canon version of the origins of the Jedi are relatively sparse in details. But before we discuss these two diverging or converging versions of the origins of the Jedi Order, let's look at how Disney has incorporated Legends materials into their latest canon entries. Since Disney has uncanonized the majority of the expanded universe, it has also slowly started to recanonize a lot of things in the last years as well. One of the biggest things to be recanonized last year was Thrawn in the Rebels series, and his personality hasn't changed much from the Legends version of himself. And that is how Disney has been treating a lot of the Legends. A lot of the small details are removed or changed, but the overall larger ideas behind the Legends stories are kept intact and incorporated into canon. Which is why I believe that what Luke finds in the First Jedi Temple can be explained by a mixture of both canon and legend knowledge. According to Legends, before the Jedi Order, there was the Jedi Order. Founded on the planet Tython, they believed that true balance in the Force was achieved by individuals embracing both sides of the Force. Although considered compassionate and good, these Jedi were unafraid of tapping into their emotions and using the dark side in order to supplement their fighting abilities. But after a very taxing war, a rogue Jedi started a faction that only embraced the dark side of the Force. Thus began the Force Wars. The original Jedi would win this war against their dark brothers, and it changed their understanding of the Force. They began to believe that the light side of the Force was superior to the dark side, therefore starting the modern-day Jedi Order, after migrating to Ahch-To. Now, according to canon, Jedi scholars believe that the first Jedi temples were founded on the following planets: Ahch-To, Coruscant, Jeddah, but also Tython and Ahch-To. Two of the planets I just mentioned, which I believe gives some merit to the Legends Jedi origin story. Also, according to canon, there is something very similar to the Force War that happened as well. Further proof that the ancient Jedi embraced both sides of the Force lie in the Star Wars Rebels series. We see Jedi Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger approach the Lothal Jedi Temple in one episode. We find that outside the temple are etched symbols of the light side and the dark side, and the temple itself is extremely deadly and unforgiving, which is showcased by the bones of long-dead Jedi who have failed the temple trials. So now we've established that the ancient Jedi were most likely gray Jedi who embraced both sides of the Force to one degree or another. So now let's take a look at episode 8's title, The Last Jedi. I previously discussed that The Last Jedi could potentially be Luke, Rey, or even Kylo Ren. But after coming up with this theory, I believe that Luke is indeed the Last Jedi, or at least the type of Jedi that he is, the one that was trained by Obi-Wan and Yoda, represents the last of the Jedi Order, which now will become extinct. It's possibly even hinted in this canon comic, which shows a Hutt calling Luke the Last Jedi. I believe by episode 8, Luke's understanding of the Force will be very different from what it used to be. He'll have replaced many of the things that he learned from the old Jedi Order with things he's learned from the First Temple of the Jedi. He'll learn that in order to find true balance in the Force, one needs to learn of the dark side, and through this understanding, they will be able to better control the temptation that comes along with it. If we look into Luke's past, we see he's already started down this path to balance. Luke drew on the dark side during his duel against Darth Vader, yet was able to back down after disarming his father. And furthermore, Luke wasn't exposed to the full set of Jedi teachings, which would have further restricted him from embracing his emotions. As a matter of fact, in the expanded universe New Jedi Order created by Luke, the Jedi were much more relaxed about a lot of things. For instance, many Jedi formed relationships and loving bonds and had families. So Luke becomes the last Jedi by embracing the teachings of the First Temple. But how does he learn these things from the First Temple? Well, most likely, he'll find a holocron. Holocrons are kind of like super hard drives that were created by very powerful Force wielders. And only those who use the Force could actually open them. Inside, Luke can find a treasure trove of information. Holocrons usually contain the life knowledge of one Jedi Master or Sith Lord. Some were also even known to have semi-intelligent interfaces. So essentially, Luke has found his third master. But there also is one side possibility that Luke has not been able to open the temple. If we go back to the temple on Lothal, we find that it required both a master and a Padawan to gain access to this temple. So it could be that Luke has been waiting for Rey this entire time so that they can crack open this temple together. J.J. Abrams considered Episode 7 of Force Awakens as a reintroduction to Star Wars and its basic ideas. In that way, it was a success. It's also been said that Episode 8, like Empire Strikes Back, will be much darker and go into newer territory. I hope my predictions are right. I've always disagreed with the Jedi and Sith point of view on the Force. I believe both ideologies are way too extreme and lead to constant warfare between these two factions. The Grey Jedi, however, have a much more balanced approach to the Force, and I believe through them, they can find true balance in the Force. I also think that having Grey Jedis will create much more realistic and relatable characters to follow. That seems to be the trend that Rogue One and a lot of the new canon has championed. Star Wars is no longer a galaxy of just black and white. The Imperials are not all monsters, and the Rebels aren't all angels either. Anyway guys, let us know what you think about our prediction, and what you think about a new Grey Jedi Order. Is that something you want to see? And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to hit the little bell button so you're notified every time we upload a new video. And if you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.